Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I don't know about you, Shane. I had a heck of a time last week down there in Atlanta, but it is nice to be back home. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good. Licking my wounds a little bit. Ain't gonna lie, Mike. I left Atlanta, went straight to Cherokee to hang out with my favorite casino, and you can always tell. I know. I figured you would have asked at some point because the first day I'm sending you pictures and I'm hitting the jackpots and. If everything's going good, day 2, radio silent. Well, that's when I figured out that my bank will not let me draw more than $500 from an ATM. And thank God it wouldn't, because I would have left more money up there in Cherokee. We had an absolute blast. It was good to get, just kind of rest and relax. But I'm glad to be home, man. I started saving money as soon as I got here.
So how much, you don't want to give us a dollar amount, but did you walk out of there with your pants on?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. And it's funny because, so we went up like Thursday.
Yeah.
We stayed Thursday night, ran into a couple fans actually up there on the floor. He was trying to get me to go over and play blackjack, which that probably would have been a horrible decision on my part. I like to slow play it on the machines, And then we stayed that night. The next night, and we were going to head back. And usually on that day 3, we like to go down, play a little bit before we go and hit the road. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to do that, Mike. I said, hell no, I ain't going over there. We took our winnings. It was $190. And I cashed out and we took it home.
And, if we didn't stand out already at SEC Media Day, Shane, you have got to be the only guy there that as soon as the event was over, headed straight to Cherokee Casino. But hey, that just gives you an idea of what a unique show we are. You know what?
I don't know if it was a great idea, Mike, because I was thinking, my brain was overworked while we were down there. It was just so many hours in the day. I was thinking the questions that I may ask a coach, may ask a player, and it was very, just my brain was rocked. I was just I was just done, And then I go to the casino, and I was telling my wife, I said, I don't know if this was the best idea, because with all these lights and whistles and, all this jumping around, leprechauns giving me money and stuff, it just, after a while, my brain was like, man, this is just still stimulus. I need to get away. So that's what we did. We got home a little early, and I was like, man, I ain't going to turn the phone on. I'm not going to turn TV on. We're just going to enjoy the family time. So I'm finally coming back down, getting back into game mode.
Yeah, and for anybody a little behind the scenes here, if you want to catch exactly what Shane's talking about, you can check out our YouTube channel. We got all the interviews, all the clips, but the final one we recorded, I should say, from Media Days was with Trey Wallace. And if you just listen to Cousin Shane, you get a true sense of how ready he was ready to get the hell out of Atlanta. But that's just a little inside baseball for you there. But speaking of SEC Media Day, Shane,
Trey was like, he goes, I got to go over here. I got to knock this one out. And I've got to go over here. It's going to probably be about an hour. And I'm like, my brain is 2 hours up the road to Cherokee already. I'm like, if we get 5 minutes of Trey, that's better than nothing. So come on, let's get this party started.
Yeah, so go back and check that out. But we did have a little bit of news to leak on Friday, Shane, from Atlanta. The SEC preseason media poll was revealed. And no surprise, Alabama picked to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. But let's break down this East real quick. Georgia, of course, the favorite, heavy favorite, 172 first-place votes for the Georgia Bulldogs. But how about this one, Shane? This was a little bit of a surprise. This was the first thing that jumped out to me. Kentucky, number 2. And, I'm not stunned. Obviously, we've discussed at length where I got the Kentucky Wildcats, but this is a sign that Mark Stoops and company finally getting that respect, not only there in Lexington, but all across the SEC. Kentucky Wildcats picked number 2 by the media. That's where Cousin Shane's got them. So you're probably not surprised by this selection, are you?
No, not at all. Did they? How many first-round picks did they get? Because Rouse was down there. I don't know how many votes he got, but
Kentucky got
I'm just
4,
curious.
4 first-place votes.
4. Okay, yeah, I think there was 4 over there at the table. That makes sense. So, no, I think this is a no-brainer. This is one of those teams. It was just confirmation for me after media days that I've got them exactly where I think they'll be. This is a good year for Stoops. This is a good year for Kentucky in general, and I think if they're ever going to have a chance, Mike, and it's a far chance, but a chance to win or compete for an East championship, it's this year.
Yeah,
and I know again it's a long fetch opportunity here, but I'm saying if the stars are aligned, anything could happen. I like Kentucky with the second team in the East.
Now, number 3, Tennessee. Again, not a stunner, but I think I would have suspected Tennessee would be number 2, but right there, right behind Kentucky, they got 1 first-place vote. That was not Cousin Shane. I can verify that. But Tennessee, number 3, number 2, number 3, you could kind of argue either one, couldn't you?
Yeah, and again, when I was talking about Kentucky, I'm not saying that they'll beat Tennessee. I think those two teams are extremely close. Anything can happen. It's just I like Kentucky's schedule a little more than I do Tennessee. I think they got a tougher path to be the second best team in the East. But anything can happen, and especially with that Heupel offense.
Now,
hey, I don't know if you're going to touch on this, but I am curious your thoughts on the article that came out the other day. Are we gonna talk about that at all?
Which one? The allegations and all that?
Yeah.
Well, let's just hit it right now. Yeah. So Tennessee gets the notice of allegations from the NCAA. Standard practice here. This is how the process works. The NCAA informs the school if there's violations. Tennessee's got 90 days to respond. And my understanding, Shane, is Tennessee basically agrees with everything that's been laid out by the NCAA. This is, of course, going back to the Jeremy Pruitt era, and I believe they have it at 18 or 19 level 1 violations, which is a massive, massive number. Of course, they've cleaned the program. They fired everybody involved, and Tennessee did not. They self-imposed scholarships last year. But they did not self-impose a bowl ban. Obviously, Tennessee went to a bowl game, so they avoided, which is kind of the biggest hammer the NCAA can throw at you, lack of institutional control. Tennessee avoided that, but they did get charged with failure to monitor the program. So that's basically number 2 you don't want to see. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But Danny White, the Tennessee AD, the Tennessee president, Chancellor Plowman, they have both issued statements, and their statements was basically, hey, everybody that was involved, they've been punished, and they've been punished severely. We do not believe in the coaches and students that are here now deserve any kind of punishment, and that's why we went to a bowl game, and that's the stance they're taking. So it's going to be pretty wild to see what happens here, Shane. Will the NCAA give Tennessee some leniency for being so transparent?
Well, I've read a few articles, and that's what it kind of came across, was that they're putting all of this on Pruitt, right, and very little of that on Tennessee. So I don't know if we come out smelling like a rose, but it does kind of seem like that's the I don't know, like a common response that I'm getting is that this was Jeremy's fault, and he's gone.
Right. Well, and you can never get a great read on what the NCAA is going to do, Shane, but if the NCAA hammers Tennessee, and hell, they might. I mean, stranger things have happened.
When you say hammer, what is the worst possible outcome you see the NCAA doing to Tennessee Volunteers?
Maybe like multiple-year bowl ban.
Okay.
And taking away scholarships, but Tennessee's already done that, so I don't know if they would, exceed that. But my point, Shane, was that Tennessee has been so open to the NCAA coming in here. If the NCAA turns around and hammers them, I don't think we'll ever see a school open the doors for the NCAA again. So it's going to be pretty interesting how this plays out. But again, I do not expect Tennessee to get hammered. But like I said, Here's the confusing part, Shane. People, they they're like, well, North Carolina got off in basketball, but then, Liberty, I'm just making that up, Liberty Golf got hammered. You know what I mean? It's like, why is one and not the other? But it's not like it's the same 5 people handing out the punishments for every decision. It's a different group within the NCAA making these determinations on a case-by-case basis. So I think that's why we get the varying opinions, and honestly, that's why no one can honestly tell you what exactly is going to happen to Tennessee, but it is going to be a storyline to watch here this fall.
So we don't know exactly what team to give McDonald's bags to. Is that what you're saying? Is it too soon? I don't know. Maybe we can get his wife to do it. I don't know.
All right, but jumping back into this East Pole shape, Florida, number 4. Again, that's not a huge surprise there. That feels about right for the Gators, doesn't it?
Mike, we talked about this is what's crazy is I think there's 4 teams. You think there's 3 teams. They can go back and forth. It's based off scheduling. I like Florida. I was a little higher on South Carolina, mainly because I just got off the Beamer hype reel. I was feeling it. There was a lot of Gamecock mojo going around when I put my picks in. But I think Florida, South Carolina, back and forth wouldn't surprise me at the end of the season.
Now, how about this, Shane? South Carolina, number 5. But interestingly, we mentioned Florida. They didn't get a single first-place vote in the East. South Carolina got 3. So, hey, there is some belief out there in the Gamecocks, although they did, again, finish 5th in the preseason poll. But, hell, that's more than even Tennessee got at number 3. So, again, that just goes to what you're saying. I mean, this is a jumbled mess here, and it should make for one hell of an SEC football season because you can make the case for any of these teams.
Absolutely. They killed it during media days. They came down there with a mission, with a statement, and that's exactly what they did. They walked away, in my opinion, a better program than they probably are. And going back to Florida, here we got them sitting there. You've got them number 2. I've got them number 4. Number 5 actually, but I could easily see them move up the list if, Anthony Richardson takes that step forward this year. If the team gels quicker than we expect, if this, because it is a rebuild and the depth is a concern, but again, it's one of those programs. It wouldn't surprise you at the end of the year if they aren't the number 2 best team in the SEC East.
Now Missouri, they got voted number 6 again. They could do much better, but I think that's about what is expected. Now, here's the Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just them and Vanderbilt. It's like the safest bets right here.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt number 7. But here's a stunner, Shane, and we need verification. We've already been asked from one of our fans there on social media. Cousin Shane, Vanderbilt received a first-place vote in this poll.
Oh, God.
Was that you?
No, that was the door report over there. I'm not saying anybody did it, but I'm just no. I did not, and I am curious, because it is anonymous. But I'm curious if like the SEC sees this and says, all right, Mike from that SEC podcast, enjoy your last time at the SEC media days if you're going to keep voting like that. Do you ever wonder that? Or what? Maybe it was an accident, brother. Maybe it was an accident, but there's no reason that Vandy should be number 1. Clark Lee says they're going to be the number 1 program. They're not there yet.
Well, now that you've actually been down to the event, Shane, you can verify this, but the website they use, I don't want to say it's confusing, but it's kind of old school, and it's my feeling is someone probably mixed up the order, and they meant to put Vanderbilt at the bottom, but they accidentally put them at the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah, see, I blamed fat fingers myself, so. But I will tell you, it asked you about 8 times, are you sure you're ready to submit this thing? So they had to go through a couple of those before they went, unless I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Now, of course, Alabama picked to win the West. No surprise there. 177 first-place votes, nearly every single one of them. Texas A&M voted number 2 And I know they got
How many first place they get?
They got 3. So you're an elite company right there with your Texas A&M.
Golly. Well, I don't know when they put the votes in. I talked earlier. It may have been after the Naismith news because that broke out during these media days. But I'm kind of surprised that's not closer. Maybe I'm terrible at gambling, Mike. Maybe I should go back to Cherokee and remove my mortgage payment from Texas A&M winning an SEC championship, because to find out there's only 2 other guys down there that are girls that thought the same as me is a little discouraging.
And you
because there's a lot smarter people over there in that room than me.
And how about this? Didn't you pick A&M to win the entire SEC, right?
I did. Yes, sir.
Do you know how many other people did?
No.
Just Cousin Shane. They got 1 vote to win the SEC championship. So remember this. Hey, I'm wearing my Aggie shirt, Shane, right now. I'm trying to make up for all these mad Aggies in our mentions. Cousin Shane believes in you, and just remember,
I do.
Hell, I don't want to call anyone out here, but we know Texags was down there. We know the Houston Chronicle was down there. We know the Bryan College Station. I mean, there was many Texas A&M people down there.
Yeah.
Only Cousin Shane voted them Aggies to win the SEC. So remember that. When December rolls around and Jimbo Fisher is retweeting my dumb ass and Cousin Shane, we're lifting him on our shoulders. Remember who
That's
who
right. Save this pod right here, because I do have money on Texas A&M winning. So now I'm not great at gambling. Clearly, we established that at the start of the show. So it may not be the best thing for Texas A&M, but I don't know. I've got this just gut feeling, man. I think people are overlooking. How many times are they wrong on Alabama? Alabama's been ranked number 1 for the last 8 years or 9 years in a row or something stupid like that. They ain't won the last 9 years. Yeah. Someone else always pops up and catches one of these teams. Everybody thinks Georgia's going to repeat. You know how hard it is to repeat an SEC champion or a national championship. A perfect season. It's tough to do. So, I think there's 3-4 teams in the SEC that have the ability to win an SEC championship. I just like the odds of my A&M Aggies. I just think that people are overlooking them. I think the talent's going to show right early. I think week 2, week 3, I think those betting odds are going to get a little bit tougher in Vegas.
Yeah. Now, number 3 in the West, Shane, Arkansas, they got 1 vote to win the West. No other West teams received a vote to win it. So just Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas. Not a surprise there.
Here I'm talking about Vanderbilt. I'm thinking now, I'm like, damn, I'm the only one. So now they're probably saying the same thing about me. They're like, yeah, we can't invite this yahoo back, If he's going to make a mockery of our picks,
How about this? This kind of stunned me right here, Shane. Ole Miss picked to be 4th. It's not, lack of confidence in Lane Kiffin or anything, but just all the transition there is surprising to see. I guess not stunning. They just won 10 games last year, but losing a lot. You know what?
Yeah, I think you're just buying more into Lane Kiffin here, and not actually Ole Miss Rebels. So that one kind of surprised me, and I'm not as high. I had them a little bit lower. I had Mississippi State higher. So where did they land?
Mississippi State number 6. That's what really jumped out to me. It's disrespect. I think it's just annual disrespect from Mississippi State. Maybe folks that don't cover the team, you just kind of overlook them for whatever reason. But I think that's a huge mistake. They're 1 spot lower than LSU, which, again, I could see LSU finishing much higher. We just don't know what to make of that team. And then, of course, Auburn, number 7. But yeah, so there's the media poll, Shane. But how about this? Because this is pretty.
Can I ask you something
yes,
here,
sir.
Mike?
Uh-huh.
If Auburn, if they flip flop Vandy and Auburn this year, and Auburn's in the East and Vanderbilt's in the West, where would you have Auburn ranked in the East?
7th.
Oh, really?
I like the East. I like the East this year. I like what they've got, but
hey,
I'm just going to keep doubting Auburn, because that's how you get
the players.
That's how you get magic out of Auburn. You know what I mean? I want them to. I want them to come out here and win 10, 11 games next year.
Who was the player on Instagram?
Oh yeah.
He said He said something about prediction, right?
I'll pull that up real quick here. Yeah, so this was fantastic. After the SEC released these official results, Marquise Burks, here's his response to the official SEC account on the preseason poll. He said, "Predict these nuts." Hey, the season hadn't even started, and Auburn's winning. You know what?
I love it. I love it. Auburn's got that chip, brother. They do, and anybody's going to be playing. I mean, they're going to be going 100 miles an hour as those Auburn Tigers. So I think there is a lot of doubters. I don't think they finished 7th. I think that was a safe bet. This is one of those teams that could quickly rise, but until then, it's the world against Auburn.
Now, there was only 5 teams in the media poll, Shane, that got picked to win the SEC. Alabama, of course, were the runaway winner. Georgia received the second most. Of course, you voted A&M. You were the only one.
Yeah.
But there's 2 others. Can you guesses on who the other 2 teams someone picked to win the SEC this fall?
Well, just from the numbers you gave me.
No, I'll give you a hint. You'll never guess either one of them.
Is one of them South Carolina?
Oh, you win! Yeah, they got 3 votes. South Carolina got more votes than Texas A&M.
To be fair, I wouldn't have known that if you didn't tell me that they got the first picks in the East over there. So I'm going to go South Carolina, safe pick, and the other one I'll never get. It better not be Vanderbilt.
You nailed it. It's Vanderbilt.
Oh, dude, somebody just hates. I mean, they must have had a horrible experience. They must have got stuck at the Omni Hotel, and they said, "You know what?
In the elevator.
To hell with this." Yeah, that's it. I let me tell you, man, I got caught in the elevator. So there's 4 elevators over there, and we get down to 2, and I'm waiting. I'm holding all this damn camera equipment. I look like an idiot sweating. I look like I've got like something I shouldn't have. I'm surprised security didn't come up and ask to see my bags, But I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. I finally get to my turn. Guess who shows up?
Tim Tebow.
Damn Tebow. Tim Tebow with half his shirt unbuttoned. Ladies getting their pictures made with him. The elevator pops open. I'm about to go in. Security guy stops me. Gets Tebow on there, but Tebow couldn't get away from the selfies. These 40, 50-year-old ladies, it might as well have been God out there because they were taking picture after picture. They were Skyping their friends and everything. And finally Tebow gets in the elevator, and guess what? I got to wait another 20 minutes for that elevator to open back up. So my Tebow experience this week was fat shaming me with the Arby's bag and then making me wait 20 extra minutes to get on the elevator. So not a good start for Tim Tebow.
That was the one thing I heard from your brother all week. I can't believe Shane got to meet Tebow and I didn't.
My favorite though, I'm not gonna lie to you, was Cutcliffe was a big one for me, just because it's personal. It's a coach that I've followed my whole life. That one was a big one. Eli taking his time was a big one for me. And I'm trying to, and the other one was the Pirate. Just seeing, that's the first time I ever seen the Pirate, and I just wanted to ask him all these questions, but I didn't want to look like an idiot either. And, all I kept saying is, Mike, act like you've been here, So it's just
and we had that opportunity for a brief moment. Remember we were walking back to the hotel. He was there.
It would have been ideal because we could have talked about anything. It wouldn't even had to have been football related.
Right.
I loved it because, Lane's tweeting out something, their media team's on to something, Kool-Aid guy or whatever. And then the Pirates over there tweeting a grizzly catching these fish out of the river. And I'm like, God, there could be 2 different people, in the state of Mississippi. I love it.
Well, Shane, hey, there's not going to be a ton to cover this week in the SEC. This is usually a vacation week. With media days coming and going. So, we got to be honest with the audience. There was so much information coming at us that we missed a lot. So I thought it would be a great opportunity, Shane, to just kind of rehash some of the player comments and some of the coach comments that we may have missed. And we're just going to go in order of how they went at SEC Media Day. So,
right.
You ready to do a SEC Media Days 2.0?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Well, let's start with LSU. Shane, Brian Kelly, of course, all the storylines with the culture. I love the fact that, he makes the perfect point. Everybody wants to talk about the culture, but you start winning ball games, they don't give a damn about any of that. So
exactly.
How's he building that? How's he building trust from those LSU fans that don't know anything about him just yet? And on roster construction, I mean, this is something that each and every coach is having to deal with. It's totally new in this era of college football. Let's kick it over to Brian Kelly to share his thoughts on all that.
And what's the identity that you see from this team?
Yeah, I think we learned a little bit about our team in the spring, but I think more than anything else is just since January up till today, they have done everything we've asked them to do. It's not been easy, to get them to think the right way, the right habits of winners. Clearly, it had slipped a little bit, and to on a day-to-day basis to be forced to have a standard that they weren't clearly used to is difficult. And I am so proud of the way that they have been sticking to that standard on a day-to-day basis. It tells me that this group will fight hard for 4 quarters. And as a football coach, that feels pretty good.
Coach, on your left, fourth row.
Hey, Coach. Jordy Collada from WAFB. Can you explain the challenges of roster management and rebuilding of what you took on from December up until this point?
How long do you have?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so you need to attack every situation a little bit differently. Every job that I've had has had different unique situations. This one was unique. It was one that we needed to address immediately with experienced players. And so we were intentional about the transfer portal in that we didn't want to bring in guys that would create more issues. We wanted guys that had, first of all, a love for LSU. And so we attracted a lot of guys that were originally from the state of Louisiana and had a passion for wanting to play at LSU. The second thing is we wanted SEC players if we could get them. If not, they needed to be the very best at their level. And so they were all Americans or they were the best at that position. And then I think the third thing is that they immediately had to have the traits that we were looking for. They had to be guys that when we talked to their coaches that were the best character traits, attention to detail, all those things. That was first. Second, do a great job of recruiting freshmen in a very, very short period of time with an eye towards specific needs by position. And don't create any more open, wasted opportunities at position groups. Guys that are going to be in the program for the 4 years. We had too much attrition, and a lot of that was based upon poor academics. So we wanted strong students. That was first and foremost. Then develop the players that we had on campus. And that's kind of what we've been doing since we got there.
Second row.
Hey, Coach, Jesse Symington on 3. You mentioned earlier today about how trust is a two-way street, and that was kind of in terms of you and the players and being a new coach at a new program. In a similar vein, how do you kind of build that with a fan base that does kind of come with so much expectations and the noise that kind of came with your hire? What have you kind of done in the last 7 months to kind of build that trust, and what does that look like maybe a year from now as well?
You know, I think the 23 class is a transition class for us that we started a little bit late, but I think we've made some great progress. I think trusting that we're going to recruit really well in 23, 24, and 25. I think you start there that, okay, they're going to recruit well, and I think you start with that. So they can start to look at this football team is going to bring in an influx of talented players. then I think the next thing is the eye test is really important in year one. You've got to be able to look at the football team that we're putting on the field in year one with a number of different moving parts. Other words, freshmen that are going to have to play, transfers, and look at it and say, wow, this team is well coached, it's disciplined, it plays for 4 quarters. They may be a little bit short here, they may be a little bit inexperienced here, but wow, is this going to be a good football team? So we've got to pass the eye test. Because Louisiana State University fans are like many others. They're smart. They know what good football looks like. If we go out there and we're sloppy and we're disconnected and we're not well coached, then we get what we deserve.
All right, Shane. So again, I mean, this is a guy that, I think you get the sense he didn't come into this trying to be a quote machine. He was trying to get out of there. He was already a quote machine with his dancing and his family and all this. So it seemed like he was trying to avoid all that and get a little bit more serious here, don't you think?
Yeah, and I love his comments. You can see the precision in his voice. He realized he was behind the 8 ball when he got down there. There's only so much you can do. So each move that you make has to mean something, has to be beneficial for this university. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like. I compare him and Coach O like surgeons. Coach O was a surgeon in the 1800s. You take a shot to the leg, he cuts your leg off. That's what he does to save your life. Brian's more of a today surgeon. He's going in there. He's not only going to save that leg, but he's going to make sure you walk normal for the rest of your life. It's not pretty. It's not glamorous. It's not something you want to watch on YouTube, but this is a coach that is going to build this program the right way. He's successful everywhere he goes, Mike. I mean, everywhere. He's like Midas. Everything he touches turns to gold. And now he has an opportunity to do it with SEC talent. It's not going to happen immediately, brother, but there's going to be a game or two this year that sneaks up and you're like, oh, shit, LSU is legit. They do have – and it's not that they have excellent players on this roster right now. It's that Brian Kelly is going to get these kids in opportunities to be efficient. Sometimes that's one word that we don't talk enough about in college football is efficiency. And if these guys play efficient, they're going to catch a team off guard just because they weren't prepared. So I think that's what Brian Kelly is bringing down there at LSU, and that attention to detail is something they've not had in a long time.
Yeah, I think you're right, Shane, and that seems to be echoed from the players that we got here. I mean, none of them calling out Coach O. They love Coach O, but it seems like they're really understanding and embracing what Brian Kelly, his resume, his track record, and his ability to make relationships quickly with his players happened over spring. Right. So let's kick it over the highlights real quick from receiver Jack Besh, linebacker Mike Jones, and defensive lineman BJ Ojolari, who talk at length at the new coaching staff and a little bit on the quarterback competition and how that's coming out there in Baton Rouge.
With NIL and some other things going on, sometimes people say, do college players dream of playing college football as much as they used to? You seem to strike me as a guy who's always dreamed of playing for LSU. Can you speak to that? And then also, it seems like some of these guys who were in the freshman class, Emory Jones, Will Campbell, they share that dream with you.
Definitely. Being from the state of Louisiana, growing up a LSU fan, Saturdays were always devoted in the fall for watching LSU, whether that be in Baton Rouge or back in Lafayette where I'm from. So, and always growing up, you go look at pictures of me as a kid, I'm probably going to have one LSU shirt. And it goes the same way, like Emory, Walker, Will, Mason Smith, just all those homegrown kids. It just means a little bit more whenever you're playing, for LSU, being from Louisiana. You want to put on for your state, you want to put on for your family, your friends, and different things like that. So it's been just awesome, being able to play here at LSU.
Jack, you were there for Coach O last season. This year you have Brian Kelly, who is, people consider him more of a CEO. Have you seen kind of the transition from that?
Yeah, first I just want to say, without Coach O, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to play here at LSU, so definitely all my thanks to him. But yeah, Coach Kelly, he does everything very specifically. He's moving chess pieces. Everything he does it for a purpose, and he knows that once he does one thing, he knows what the outcome is going to lead to. So, yeah, definitely very strategic in everything he does. Just like the staff he put together. Like, there wasn't one coach he just got to fill the spot. It was a very, like, strategic move, and he knew what he wanted and what he was going to get out of those coaches once they got here.
You guys, and it's a team that is usually talented at that position. What can you tell us about your position mates at wide receiver this year?
Yeah, our wide receiver room is stacked, and we're headed by one of the best wide receiver coaches in college football, with that being Coach Hankton and Coach Carter. Yeah, our wide receiver room, you know, you could put on a blindfold, put all the names in the hat, pick a name out the hat, and, you know, that person is destined to go off. There's nobody in that room that's even close to being just average. Everybody in that room is a very good football player, a very good athlete, route runner, and then on the mental side, knowing the defenses and everything like that. But what I think is going to elevate us is, like I said, is our coaches. Coach Hank, he's taught us so much about on the field things, obviously, but also about just off the field stuff, just how to be a man and how to take accountability for all the decisions you make, even if it might not be a good one, you know, just to take accountability for it and to learn from your mistakes.
Mike, what's going to be the defensive scheme this year? What's a little bit different with the new coaching staff, and what's the identity you're looking for, you individually and your team?
I would say the biggest difference with our team this year defensively is, you know, we're really multiple. We've got plenty of talent. We got a lot of talent, and so, you know, we can do a lot of different things, you know, show a lot of different looks, and you know, I know Coach House is going to have a great plan. When it comes to identity, Mike Jones, my biggest goal for this year is just to go out there and play my best football. I know if I can go execute, you know, to the level that my coach is going to have me execute, everything's going to handle itself. And for a defense first, Coach House's big thing is Tigers run. And so, you know, we're trying to get back to that LSU style of football. You know, we're going to run fast, and we're going to hit, we're going to be physical, and we're going to tackle, you know, and that's who we're going to be. That's going to be our standard, and I'm sure we'll meet it.
Mike, when Coach Kelly was first hired, a lot of people said it was a quirky fit, guy from the north coming to the south. Mm-hmm. Jack Best just described him as the perfect fit. What are your thoughts?
I think, you know, when you look at LSU 5-10 years down the road, I feel like there wasn't a better or more perfect hire than Coach Kelly. You know, his track record speaks for itself. You know, if you want guys that are going to win, you want to be one of those consistent programs that are constantly, you know, at the top of college football every year. You know, you're going to, who else can do it better than the guys who have been doing it? And, you know, just seeing the way that he carries himself, you know, his expectations, you know, the way that the things that he demands from us, you know, just their process on how to prepare and get ready for a season, it translates to the success, you know. And I've been around some good teams throughout my time, and Coach Kelly's kind of like been the thing that's made me realize that maybe all good teams do things the same.
What have you learned from Coach House so far? And also, we talked about the season opener against Florida State. Last time you were in the Dome, you were wearing the wrong colors, should I say. You weren't very successful there. Kind of, what's your takeaway of kind of your expectations for that weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned a lot from Coach House. I love Coach House, man. He is a great dude, and I'm super blessed to be playing for him, to be getting the opportunity to learn from him, you know, just to be around him every day. You know, and I can say something about every aspect of his life, man, from the way he carries himself to the way that, you know, he addresses us, his players, to the way he interacts with his staff. You know, everything is done at such a high level, and it's exposed me to a level that I've never even known was, you know, just the way things could be done. You know, he's taught me a lot about being a leader, you know, in different ways to lead throughout the team. And so, you know, it's so many things I can say that I've gotten from Coach House that it's hard to even name one, but 100% sure I am super blessed to be working with him and super thankful for him and really our whole staff as well.
We were just talking about the defensive front. Could you kind of elaborate on the guys? Obviously, it should be a strength. You guys have a lot of different guys, a lot of different body types that can do different things. Just how well are you all meshing, and how excited are you for this opportunity this year?
I'm so excited for this opportunity. We got a lot of guys that are coming back. Ali Gay, he's one of my favorites. Defensive end, great leader. We got Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy. We got great additions from the transfer portal. Makai Wingo, he's meshing well with all of us. And, you know, Coach Kane, he does a great job just implementing his style of coaching with us, and I think we mesh well as a group, and we're still creating that good D-line chemistry.
BJ, what has your defensive coordinator asked you to do differently this season, and what about the entire defense? What might be different?
Yeah, Coach House, he's implementing a lot of new things. You're going to see a lot of new things from the defense end. Me personally, I'm going to be, still having my hand in the dirt, still standing up a little bit, but I'm going to be able to do whatever they ask of me, just being as versatile as I can.
What can you tell us about Jaden Daniels and what you've seen so far from the new quarterback for LSU from Arizona State, who is competing to be the starter? And if he were to win the job, what do you think he would bring to the offense this year?
Yeah, I love Jaden, man. He's a great guy. He came in, meshed well with the locker room. He has a great arm. He's very elusive and has speed. So I think he's going to bring that elusive, be able to get away, move out the pocket type of offense to LSU if he does win the job. But I feel like all 4 quarterbacks that are in the competition are qualified to take LSU where we need to go.
All right, next, Shane, Ole Miss again, Lane Kiffin, the Lane train. We got him one more time here at SEC Media Days in a smaller room. But the standouts for me here, Shane, he talks about the quarterback competition. We all want to know, is it Jackson Dart? Is it going to be Luke Altmaier, the guy that was there last year already? But let me ask you this, because this is something that we kind of rehashed with it was one of the interviews we did down there. But anyway, it's, how do you think NIL factors into this? Because Jackson Dart, the transfer, he's making all this money. I know Lane Kiffin. I mean, he's not taking orders from anybody, but you got to think at some point. I don't know if pressure's the right word, but how do you think that NIL money influences playing time at all in Oxford?
It's hard not to. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the old, like the Pee Wee football team. If one of the coaches bought the uniforms, most likely, the kid's going to get a little more playing time than he probably deserves. So it feels kind of like that. Like, you have to address that elephant in the room, because this is going to be a part of college football for the rest of our lives, and you don't want to be the one university that promised you something and you don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So right. I would sense there would be a little obligation to play these kids, especially the ones with the larger NIL contracts. Not to mention the fans. Think about it. You're paying Dart all this money, but with that comes expectations from that kid. And if you're having a bad game and Dart's not in there, well, as a common fan, I've got the problem. The problem is we don't have our guy in there. And then now, coach looks like an idiot. So even though he may not have won the job, or maybe he didn't grasp the playbook, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you got to take into account. But when it's in the throes of things and on SEC Saturday, it's hard not to get a little emotional if your guy's not on the field. Yeah, and maybe I'm just looking too much into this, Shane, but just imagine a business, whoever the hell is paying Jackson Dart, I have no idea, but let's say it's some business, and then you give him all this money and he doesn't even play this year. What happens when Ole Miss, the next transfer cycle, they're like, hey, we can get this guy, but we're going to need NIL money. And there goes, do you think they'll be like, well, hell, I paid for this one guy last year. He didn't even touch a field. You know what? Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these boosters and fans, they think they know what's right for this university, just like I do. I'm a Tennessee homer, and for a long time, I kept saying a certain quarterback shouldn't have been on the field, but nobody listened to me, and we kept losing games, So it's hard because there's that fan aspect, but the booster aspect is when you're putting your hard-earned money into this. You're taking a gamble on this kid. You're taking this kid is taking us to the promised land, and if he doesn't get on the field, you immediately get upset with the coach. And then the next time that coach comes to me asking for money, I'm a little bit more hesitant because the last time I did you a favor, you didn't scratch my back. And it just feels like this quarterback decision looms so big for Ole Miss. Every single person here, we're about to play the clip. Lane Kiffin, defensive lineman Cedric Johnson, receiver Jonathan Mingo, and offensive lineman Nick Broker, all asked about the quarterbacks. They're not giving anything away here, but we all know what a quarterback-friendly system this could be.
they've got to get this right with all these moving pieces. Otherwise, they stand no chance out here in the rugged SEC West. So let's kick it over to the Ole Miss contingent here.
And before you jump into this, I want you to know that we did not record this. We were not in the room, so that heavy breathing is not me. So stop tweeting at me. Every time there was a question coming out of the small room, they're like, damn, was Shane holding the camera there? That wasn't me.
You guys have been building momentum the right direction since your arrival at Ole Miss. What kind of things are you guys focusing on this offseason to continue to build on the strengths that you've developed since you've been there?
Well, we had to restart really, losing so many players and coaches too. We lost half our staff, lost our strength coach who was very critical to our success. So, that presents a lot of challenges that aren't just, okay, hey, we already got this thing going, and just keep doing what we're doing. So we've kind of had to restart that way.
Coach on the fourth row.
Say, Coach, what are the top 3 attributes that influence your selection of the quarterback?
Timing, accuracy, and decision making in that decision. So decision making is so critical, but you got to have skill set too, and accuracy. But then the timing of it and guys that hold on to the ball too long. So those 3, and obviously kind of the one that over everything is leadership too, but you can be a great leader and not be able to throw the ball very well. So you better have the other things too.
Coach on the front row here.
Jackson Dart, some elements of his game have drawn some comparisons to Matt Corral. Have you seen that?
I could see that a little bit, but Matt did such a great job in so many areas, and Jackson's still young, and but Jackson did a good job coming in. That's not easy, and we expect these guys to just come in and be great. And everybody nowadays forgets, their age. They're finishing their freshman year in his instance, or Michael Trigg that came from the same school. So, we got a lot of work to do and have great expectations for him.
Coach, to your left.
You got a new defensive coordinator, obviously, with Durkin going to A&M. So twofold, what was a DJ Durkin defense like, and what's the differences for you guys this offseason so far learning the new defense?
I feel like his defense, it was pretty good. We were kind of locked in our 3-down situation. But I feel like we did what we could. We did what we had to do, and we did everything we could. And I feel like with the new defensive coordinator, CP, he was already there. So I feel like him stepping up, for us, it was just like welcoming not a new guy in. It would be different. We had a completely new guy. So I feel like him just stepping in, we already knew him. We already loved CP. So just like, hey, you're the guy. You're the guy now. And I feel like he's bringing in a lot more aggression. It's going to be a lot more fun for everybody. He has a lot more packages. We're going to be a lot more multiple. So I feel like everybody's going to have fun.
Right to your left.
Yeah, when you say you won 10 games, that's a blueprint. What, I guess this offseason, have you seen specifically that gives you confidence that you guys are ready to take even another step past what you've already done?
I feel like the depth that we got. I mean, we got so many guys now that can do what the next or the starting guy is doing. So I feel like if I get tired, I got another guy behind me that's doing the same thing, or I got Tavis right next to me who can eat just like I can. So I feel like the depth, and it's just breeding competition. So the next man's making me better, and I'm making him better. Same with our quarterbacks. Like, we don't know who this guy's going to be, but it's whoever it's going to be, they're going to be at their best because they're bringing out the best in each other.
Seems like a common thread with a lot of schools is you have a quarterback competition between somebody who was on the team last year and somebody who's arrived via the transfer portal. Ole Miss, no different with Altmaier and Jackson Dart. What have you seen from your quarterbacks, and especially Jackson? If he were to win the job, what do you think he would bring to the offense?
I feel like he would bring a lot of energy. He's very energetic. He brings a lot of energy. He's really has a really strong arm. He could throw that thing deep. But I feel like whoever the guy's going to be, like I said, he's going to be at his best. Like Luke, he brings a lot to the table. Jackson brings a lot to the table. And they're friends also, but they know at the end of the day, like, one of us has to get this spot. I'm going to make you better, and you got to make me better. So.
We have another question.
It's a good battle. You know, you got Jackson and Luke, both of them young quarterbacks. Both of them been working pretty hard the whole all season. So it's always a blessing to have 2 quarterbacks instead of 1. You got 2 people you can depend on. So I've been getting my chemistry down with them this all season. And whoever the coaches pick at the end of the fall count, I'll be behind them. But, you know, for me, my job doesn't change. My job is to get open and catch the ball. So it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. The goal remains the same.
You mentioned the quarterback battle. What are the differences that you've seen between Jackson and Luke? Not from a negative standpoint, but just, you know, the differences in ability or just things that you're seeing during this quarterback competition.
They're pretty much similar. Their games are like they can both mobile. They both accurate throwing. Got a good feel for the defense. It's really kind of hard to pick them apart. It's probably something you just gotta pick apart during the course of fall count.
It seems like Ole Miss has added a lot of veteran players in the transfer portal who are competing to be on different spots on offense. What's it like integrating veteran players, you know, from other systems and working with them and sort of helping bring along guys that maybe have played as much college football as you?
It's fun. You know, the transfer portal has brought in other receivers. You know, it's good to have experience. So, you know, we lost a lot of people last year. We're losing Braylon and Drum. So we got a lot of young guys. So it's good that we have other receivers that came in from different schools that have playing experience. So it won't be so much pressure on the younger guys. So bringing in the transfer portal is good and bad. It's not really bad, but it's good to have people around you. But at the end of the day, the goal is the same. So you can't really just look at it as another guy coming in. You just got to look at it. We're trying to win. So to make sure everybody on the same page.
Replacing Matt Corral is obviously going to be one of the challenges for the Ole Miss offense this year. There are a couple contenders to be the new quarterback. What have you seen from the quarterback competition as one of the stalwarts of the offense?
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to see. You know, they've competed really well with each other, really helped each other grow, and you know, done things the right way. You know, they have competed, but you know, at the same time, they've kept the relationship on and off the field, and you know, it's been really fun to see them both get better and keep like the same level of friendship off the field.
To your left on the second row.
Joe Cook, WAPT in Jackson. Nick, just talk about the continuity you guys have on the offensive line and how important it is, you know, in this day and age with transfer portal. You guys got lots of new faces on both sides of the ball. But with that continuity, do you think the offensive line unit can be the unit to lead this group this year?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, we have a lot of guys coming back. I think we returned 4 starters, and Mason's coming in as well. You know, he's really fit in like a glove with us. You know, he's done a really great job of really, you know, meshing in with us. And like you said, there's a lot of new guys, but, you know, we're kind of, you know, an older group now. A lot of us have been playing for a couple of years now, and, you know, it's really, you know, our time to kind of lead the team.
The quarterbacks get a lot of the attention, but the running game has been one of the reasons why Ole Miss's offense has been so potent under Coach Kiffin these last couple of years. You bring in some new running backs, but I imagine the expectation is that you guys are still going to try to attack on the ground as effectively as you have in the past?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we were very fortunate, you know, last couple of years we had Snoop and Ely, and this year, you know, we have Zach and Dew, and, you know, even Quinshon Judkins, Kentrell Bullock. You know, we've got a really good group of running backs that we're really, you know, excited about. And, you know, offensive line-wise, you know, as long as we can open up holes for those guys, you know, they have the ability to hit home run plays really whenever.
All right, last team to hit on, Shea, Mizzou again. You know, that very thankful for the time they gave us, Coach Drinkowitz.
Before we get off Ole Miss, I got to ask you, Mike, with all these transfers and stuff, you know, every year is going to be a different year. And I was trying to think, does it not kind of remind you of Last Chance U? Like, Ole Miss is an SEC Last Chance U. Like, you get all these kids from these different schools with one last opportunity, trying to make it to the NFL, not get an SEC gig or something like that. But don't you feel like it kind of has that vibe? Every season's different because you got 10, 15 people you didn't have the last year?
Yeah, and I think that's why there's some – you know, consternation. It was Brad Logan. That's who I was trying to think of before. But he's sitting here saying, well, hell, they're not recruiting the state of Mississippi. They're not, you know, this is the bread and butter of the Ole Miss program. So I wonder if there's people around this thing. And, hell, we talked to other people say Lane Kiffin's got 1 foot out the door.
Yeah.
You know, you have to wonder. I mean, Ole Miss fans don't want to hear that, but you have to wonder if there's some validity to it because of the way he's building this thing. I mean, they're going to have to do this all again next year potentially, with all the pieces they lose, you know? So
seriously, it feels like when my first job at a grocery store and you go out there and you're restocking the shelves and you just you face the cans. You bring them all toward the front, and it looks nice and pretty, but it's completely hollow in the back. You know what I'm saying? If somebody takes 2 cans of Bush's baked beans, which is now the SEC beans, and you see there's nothing behind there, then you're like, oh shit, how did this happen? The cupboard's bare. So that's the only concern I have with Ole Miss, is that this is just a fugazi.
It's like a house of cards,
Exactly. That's the only thing I worry about this program, is if Lane is playing. Like, if he can do this every year for the next 10 years, great. We're going to win a lot of ball games down Ole Miss. But if he ever bows out, and the portal thing stops, Ole Miss is going to be in some short, shallow water,
He's one TikTok away from running out of town. You know what?
That's right.
But, all right, last but not least here, the Missouri Tigers, Shane. Great to have a little convo here with Coach Drinkowitz. We're going to play a little one-on-one we had with Isaiah McGuire here in a minute. So, Cousin Shane, he was making fast friends with everybody he interviewed down here. Hell, he's picking out wrestling names for these guys down here. So that was great. But a little, I don't want to say off topic here, but Drinkowitz really went deep on, college football and the future of it, and these big picture decisions that are being made. I thought this was tremendous, as well as, what he looks for in a quarterback. So let's kick it over to old Drink.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, what is the identity that you're seeking for your team this year, and how do you distinguish to get your starting quarterback? What are the attributes that will help you in your selection?
Yeah, for us, our motto this year, or for our program is one team, one goal, 1-0. We want to be united as a team, all pointed in the same direction to achieve the one goal that we have, which is to win the SEC East. And the only way to do that is to be 1-0 every single day and focus on the things that you have in front of you to control. And so that's really what we want the identity and the process for our team to be. When you talk about the quarterback, there's really 5 characteristics that we judge our quarterbacks on. It's toughness, preparation, decision-making, accuracy, and leadership. Those are the things that we expect from our guys on a consistent basis. For us, the quarterback is going to reveal himself to the team through toughness and through leadership. How does he handle the mental grind of fall camp, the mental challenge of being in a competition every day, knowing that there's no days off? He has to be at his best every single day. And also the leadership aspect of getting your team to the end zone and not really running your own race and not worrying about what everybody else is doing. And so that'll be a real challenge for those guys. And whoever emerges from that competition will be prepared to play in the toughest league in college football.
The way conferences are expanding, do you like the direction that college football is headed? And secondly, where'd you get your shoes?
So we'll start with the shoes. A friend of mine, Jacob Burkholder, had a pair of these, and I asked him about them, and so he said, "Hey, why don't you wear a pair of these for SEC Media Days?" They're Year of the Tiger Nike edition. 2022 is the Chinese Year of the Tiger, and so what a great way for our team, to embrace that. For as far as college football, man, I said it in my opening remarks. For me, the challenge for college football is not NIL, it's not transfer debate, it's not college football expansion or conference realignment. It's what are the frameworks for what we want college athletics to be? What is the frameworks that we want for college football moving forward, and who's in charge of making those decisions and who's in charge of doing that? Because then all the other decisions fall in line. Right now we've got decision makers who are making decisions based off what's in their best self-interest, which is currently that's the right model. But that may not be the best model for college football. I don't know, and I'm speaking a little bit out of turn here, but I would anticipate that if we're hypothetically thinking about these TV negotiations and TV rights, right? You've got conference commissioners selling them to TV rights, media marketing guys, or presidents who are in charge of what? Creating packages for programming. So are they thinking about what's in the best interest of student athletes? Are they thinking about what's in the best interest of college athletics or the guiding principles? No, they're thinking about how do I make the deal for my program? What's in the best interest of my TV contract? What's in the best interest? They're not thinking about what's in the best interest of a student athlete traveling from, say, the East Coast to the West Coast after a game. So that to me is my question. We've had a lot of conversations about we need to put guardrails for NIL. We need to put guardrails on college football. What do we want college football to be? Commissioner Sankey said we're on the path towards professionalism, and that's not the path we want to be on. Okay. Then who's getting around the table and saying this is what we want the path to be? I'm asking because I don't know. I do know that it says without a vision the people perish. Okay, and so we keep going down this path. We're going to look up in 3 or 4 or 5 years and we'll say, well, this isn't where we wanted to be. Well, yeah, that's because we keep making decisions without guardrails. So I don't know if that answered your question, but as I think about college athletics, that's what I think about. Who are the adults in the room that are saying, no, this is the best interest of, this is why we have college athletics. This is why we play college football. I hope it's not what Pat Forty wrote in his article, which is it's all about the mighty dollar. I hope that's not it, because that's never what it was supposed to be about. If that is, then Coach Kiffin's right. Then we're past amateurism, and we better start getting into when are we, paying players from the TV revenue, which nobody wants to talk about.
All right, Shane. So, I think this is. I appreciate him, going down this road and kind of calling it what it is. So it seems like the people that are making big time decisions in college football are not college football people, and I think that should worry everybody.
Yeah, it should. I mean, because everybody's chasing that dollar, and that's something that Eli hits on. And what does this sport look like in 10 years, 15 years? We don't know how the NIL will play out. We don't know how the portal's going to play out. NCAA's talking about kids being able to jump around multiple times, not just once. So, it seems like it's going so fast that we're not just slowing down and saying, hey, what do we want this sport to look like? And it's honestly, it shouldn't come from an SEC football coach, Mike. This should have been the opening remarks of Sankey, in my opinion. This should have been the topic in Florida when they were down there. So I just, we can't do it now. I mean, we're in the throes of this thing, and we're worried about the expansion, and everybody's got their hand in somebody's pocket, But at some point, we're going to have to sit down and say, okay, we need some rules, man, and we need to figure out who's going to govern them, because I don't trust the NCAA. We got to maybe govern ourselves, but then again, you create advantages at different conferences if you don't work together. So eventually we're going to have to all sit at the table and figure out what we want the sport to look like 10 years from now, because if we don't, basically these Disney is going to decide for us.
Now, I don't know if you caught, we were so busy down there, but Mike Leach was on Paul Feinbaum's show during the SEC Media Days. Did you catch any of that? Mm-hmm.
No, I did not.
He had some pretty, he's a wild guy. He's got some interesting ideas. Two things he suggested I thought was, very interesting, Shane. He said you could come into college and you can classify as professional or non-professional. And if you classify as professional, you're open to all the NIL opportunities. Now, if you're in that bracket, we can cut you at any time for performance, for attitude, for grades, for anything. We can just cut you at any point in time. Now, if you're non-professional, you still get all the benefits of being a student athlete and the stipends and everything like that, but you are secured in your 4 years, cannot be cut for athletic performance. I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. And then the other one that I really liked, probably I like this even more, if you earn your degree, you get $150,000 from the school. And if you transfer at any point, you're no longer eligible for that $150,000. That's another one I thought was kind of interesting, because it incentivizes all these athletes to get that degree, which is so important, and potentially, maybe if they don't have a career in football past college, that's a huge chunk of change to start, a business or buy an apartment or whatever. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, I like the fact that they're ideas.
Yeah.
Kiffin talked about free agency, general managers, each university having something similar to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It does get your voice out there, get your opinions out there, because we did this and created a 14 playoff and got away from the BCS. It was voices of coaches, voices of administrators. I think that's what we need is ideas, and I'm not saying that those are the right ones, but it may lead to the right one. What's best for the student athlete, and making a decision really big. I mean, it impacts the rest of your life, man. And if one of these kids come in with the thought of chasing money, and then all of a sudden you get cut, and you're a sophomore and you've got nowhere else to go, and now you're out of college, so I don't, part of that worries me, because at least if you can walk away with a degree, you would have an opportunity to do something with your life post football, because majority of these players will not play in the NFL.
Right.
So I don't, and be honest with you, Mike, majority of these players with these NIL deals make more off these NIL deals than they will make in the NFL, because they may not make it. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I don't think the burden or the weight should all be on the kid. I think the adults I think the universities need to shoulder more of that burden than the student. So coming to some uniform deal where everybody makes X amount of dollars or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. But still, it's a muddy water. It's a dirty business too, brother. I mean, for every good story you hear on the NIL, there's 10 shitty ones that we're not talking about.
Right.
Some kid in their hometown, some sleazeball comes up and promises them a deal, and just scams the kid. So taxes, that's one of the things that's brought up. It's like, could you imagine one of these kids getting a 2-game suspension for tax evasion? It's just like, I mean, it could happen that way. What do they got in place for that to help these kids not get in trouble? So I worry about the whole thing. But going into a football season is not the best time to talk about it.
Yeah.
They had 8 months to get a little bit of this lined up, and it felt like we didn't gain a lot of ground. So maybe there's something we'll hear later in the season. The expansion talk, I know that's a big and that's fun, it's sexy, but that's not the problem, Mike. This NIL, the transfer portal, the future of college football, that should be at the forefront, not how much are these universities going to make by adding more teams to the conference.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to sidetrack the whole conversation, but we do got last thing here before we're out the door, Shane. We got some Mizzou players. Again, defensive lineman Isaiah McGuire, one-on-one with us. Shane, this was a great interview. Receiver Barrett Bannister and defensive back Martez Manuel. You can get the sense, Shane, of just the leadership and the camaraderie among the senior class there at Mizzou, and it may be something that everybody outside of Columbia is overlooking when it comes to preseason predictions for the Tigers, because this seems like a tight-knit group and just one that's they're going to lead the Tigers this fall and potentially do a lot better than most of us anticipate.
All right, so we're recording.
Right on, right on.
All right, so hey, Isaiah, I really appreciate you spending time with us. You're our first interview.
Man, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
So what does it mean to you that you get to represent Missouri at an event like this? I mean, you got to be elite of elite to get in the SEC, and then now you're at another stratosphere coming down to SEC Media Days representing the Tigers.
Oh, man, it's an honor, man. It's an honor to represent my teammates and everyone in that building. Everyone puts in hard work, and everyone's dedicated to one task and all common goal, and to represent Missouri, school I signed with and still am with. It's an honor. It's a blessing by God. So, yeah.
That's good, man. Hey, I want to talk numbers real quick, because growing up, I was number 54, and then I got too big for 54, so I had to move up in numbers. And I've noticed you were 93 in high school.
Yeah.
You started out 99. Now you're number 9. Does the number mean something to you?
So for me, I changed from because I wore 93 in high school,
Yeah.
and then obviously 99. My first 2 years
Uh-huh.
at Missouri. So number 9, that change for me was me growing closer to God,
Okay.
and just kind of stepping into a new mindset. Of who I am as a person, and be a better person for everyone, and
Yeah.
things of that sort.
Well, you look good at 9.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you. So last year, Missouri defense, particularly up front, struggled early, but late in the year,
Yeah.
much better.
Yes, sir.
And against elite comp, Georgia, Arkansas led the league in rushing. What happened there to get you guys to make that turnaround?
I honestly believe it was we finally clicked in the system with the playbook. I feel like that first part of the season we were playing slow. We weren't moving as fast as we could, and once we got down, we decided to turn it around. We got together as a group and decided, hey, it's on our shoulders to
Right.
show up in the games on Saturday. And I said once we calmed down, we actually knew we were doing in the playbook system. We were moving fast. Everyone started making plays, and then we all had fun.
And did you see that carry over to the spring for this upcoming season?
Absolutely. Like I said, we kind of already have some experience with what we're doing under our book. Like I said, under our experience and things of that sort, and we were able to kind of do the same things in spring, but not only stay where we are, but more so improve on what we did carrying off of last fall.
Yeah, don't worry. Mike edits me all the time. So he's going to make you look good. Don't worry. Hey, I just wanted to ask, tight end position, that was your dad's, right?
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. So
Yeah.
I read an article that said you wanted to be a tight end. You switched over to defense.
Yeah.
If Coach came up right now and said, hey, I'm working on a few plays, would you be interested in playing a little tight end? What would you say to him?
Man, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever helped the team, man. I'm all for it, man. That's my answer.
That's good. All right.
Hey, you're probably going to get tired of hearing about this question asked your way, but all Missouri fans we talk to, they want to know Luther Burden. I mean, how did he look in the spring? Does he look like he's ready to contribute?
Man, he looks good. He always does the right things and things of that sort. He came in, he didn't act a certain way. When he first got to Missouri, he wanted to work and do all things the right way. There are a lot of other receivers in that room that have helped him adapt to college football and more so feel comfortable in the family environment we have in Missouri.
Gotcha.
The battle line rivalry, that's got to be something different to you, I would imagine. Coach Odom, recruiting you, I think it was his brother, wasn't it? And so the fact that you've got Eli here, after that game, have you had any words with Coach Odom down there in Arkansas?
No, actually not really. No, not
Okay.
at all. Not at all. But, I love Coach Odom. He gave me the opportunity to play in Missouri, and I wish the best for him. And, once we play Arkansas, it's competition time.
Yeah, I tell you, it picks up around there, the Twitter feed.
Is there one game every year you look forward to? I mean, is it that Arkansas game? Is there another game?
Man, I can't say I look forward to a certain game every year because if you get too caught up in a certain game, then you're not going to be able to focus on the current game that's ahead. So, one thing we have, in our building is, go 1-0 during that week. So that's more so the mindset.
Well, hey, this may be your first interview, but you handle it like a pro already with that answer.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask about your high school because I was doing a lot of research on you. I've been Googling
You're like a
you.
stalker
I may
at
have
this point.
I may have accidentally liked some of your family's Facebook pages, so I apologize for that. But the Union High School, there's a lot of talent that comes through there. Fuente is one that stands out. Virginia Tech, or used to be Virginia Tech's coach. Tress in the NFL right now. But the one that got me was Brent Albrecht, a.k.a. Smoke, a.k.a. Wayne Gator for the WWE. And I was curious because you got the perfect size for it. If you'd ever made the switch to WWE, what stage name would you? I was thinking Big Mac.
Big Mac?
That would be a good one.
That'd probably be the best one.
Yeah.
That's a common name of my family, so I'll go with Big Mac.
All right, I like it.
All right, cannot thank you enough, Isaiah. Thank
Thanks,
you very
man.
much.
God bless you guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
Good
for
luck
having
this
me.
year.
You were a Burlsworth nominee last year. Can you tell me what that meant to you?
Yes, sir. So for those of you who don't know, Brandon Burlsworth was a walk-on at the University of Arkansas, often considered as one of the greatest walk-ons of all time. And he tragically passed away in a car accident after he was drafted to the Colts, but they established this award. And so being a nominee for this award meant a ton. Being from Fayetteville, Arkansas, I got to learn a great deal about Brandon. My granddad was actually one of the coaches on staff who had helped bring him to Arkansas to walk on. So being able to represent that and, honestly bring honor to his name by my play on the field, I think is very special to me. And, at Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, they always have a group or a section of kids that come and watch the Razorbacks called the Burles Kids, and they always say doing it the Burles way. And so that's something that I hope to continue to do, and always want to have that chip on my shoulder and carry myself in a way that Brandon did.
You were a walk-on.
How do you feel like your experience as a walk-on, that journey of getting to where you are now here at SEC Media Day as a starter, right? How do you feel like that's helped maybe in your leadership in the wide receiver room?
I think it gives you confidence. Being a leader, sometimes you often feel like you have to have stuff that backs it up, so to speak. And so whenever you're able to get on the field and, thankfully being invited to a thing like Media Days, it gives me confidence as a leader to, maybe go out of my comfort zone a little bit sometimes whenever I'm trying to get something the way that coach wants it done or the way that we as a team need it done. And so, being able to be in this position is something that's really, really awesome.
With a lot of new guys on the offense and in the wide receiver core, from a guy who's been around the block a few times, what's some of the biggest pieces of advice that you've given them so far?
I think it was just that is, you got to be prepared when your moment comes. You have to know the plays, you got to know how to do them, you got to know how to do it at a high level. And so that's the first thing that comes with it is, preparing yourself. And then after that, it's trusting yourself. You've done a lot to get to the position that you're in now. Like these receivers that we have, these new guys on our whole team, like you're not at an SEC school just because out of luck. And so, trust yourself, and whenever whenever your name and number's called, just go out and do what you do.
Okay, over here, left side again.
Obviously with Eli always at SEC Media Days, I feel like we see so much personality. We see that throughout the season, but I think everyone gets to see it here, right? So what is it about his personality? Is he the same way with you guys at the team, dad jokes and the witty stuff? And
King of dad jokes. He is definitely the king of dad jokes. Coach Drink is a great mix of humor, wisdom, competitiveness. I think he's a great football coach and life coach. I can say I've probably gotten more coaching off the field about the man that he is trying to mold to be, or the man he is trying to create in his program, and the qualities that he's trying to instill in us are phenomenal. And then obviously from a coaching standpoint, very smart, very punctual, detailed in what he does, and then his dad jokes are about as good as they come. Sometimes you'll get there and he'll pop his head in the receiver room whenever we're in a meeting, and he'll say something and walk out with a blank face, and all of us just kind of look back and forth at each other and we're like, what just happened? So we love him as a coach.
Well, what do you, kind of going off that, what do you think it is about Mizzou and the program and Drinkwood specifically? You guys have so many guys who have stayed through so much, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it is about this program and about him that have really kept you guys so uncommon now in college football?
Yeah, I just feel like even more than Coach Drinkwitz, it's the community there in Columbia. Once you're in it, you're kind of in it for life, and we see a lot of transfers, come in and out. So I kind of, all the guys who are here with me today, me, Isaiah, and Barrett, we all committed here. We all, are all seniors now. So I love seeing guys who stick it out through the thick and thin and, try to do what they said they were going to do when they signed that paper back in, for me, 2019. So that's my goal, and I'm not very high on leaving jobs unfinished. So, I'm trying to get the job done.
Over here.
We talked a little bit earlier about the kind of uncommonness of people staying in the same spot right now with the transfer portal. What is it like for you about Mizzou that made you stay here?
So I've lived in Columbia since I was in the 8th grade. So, my pastors are here, my teachers, my doctors, all type of stuff. I just love it, and I haven't been put in a hard situation where I had to decide if I wanted to leave. My family is there. If I ever get homesick and want a home-cooked meal, my parents live 5 minutes away from me. So, it's something I can be in my little sister's life who's in the 1st grade. I can take her to go to Sky Zone or something, or even take my younger brothers who are in middle school just to go work out and teach them some things that I didn't know when I was their age. So just stuff like that it was a no-brainer for me to stay here, and I'm just so happy to finally be a senior.
All right, Shane. So, hey, that's going to do it for this episode of the show. But you got anything before we close it out?
No, man. Like you said, it's some of these storylines we missed throughout. It's like it's so funny because you pissing off Texas A&M fan base. I didn't catch that until like 2 days after the SEC. It's like, what else are we going to catch here? Who else did Mike tick off while we were down there? So, no, I'm messing with you. It was fun to get all that information. Just but I want to make sure that that's one thing that we do on this podcast is we want to make sure every university gets their time.
Yeah.
And that's breaking these down. Jimbo, like Jimbo and them, they caught the break. Everybody wanted to hear what Nick Saban had to say. Everybody wanted to hear what Kirby Smart had to say and stuff like that. But, I love the fact that we break this down so every fan base, gets their voice. And that's what we're going to do here the next week or two.
Yeah, did you see that? There was one Aggie, Shane, he was like, well, when A&M beats Arkansas, I bet they won't even discuss that game. Could you imagine us not talking about it? SEC, like, that guy's got no clue. We talk about every damn game, no matter how wrong we are. You know what?
I don't want to give any of those losers, the time of day, because it was like for every bad comment we had, there was about 8 A&M fans supporting, that really listen to the show and know that we've been behind all these universities from day one, and do I cut up a little bit? Absolutely. Do I send out jokes that I probably shouldn't have? Sure, but I'm a damn fan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to change just because this podcast is getting bigger. You know what I'm saying? The reason we got people listening to us is because we're authentic and we say what we think.
Right.
So most of the time it's wrong. Which is but we'll be the first to admit it the next day.
Yeah, no doubt. So, hey, here's to another season, Shane, of being authentic and being authentically wrong, if you want to call it that. But that's a great note to go out on, brother. I appreciate you, as always, for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. SEC football right around the corner. Cannot wait.
All right. See you guys. Aggies, I was the one. You better remember that.